Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another amazing episode of the Over Sharon Show, the best darn show on the internet. Am I right, everybody? Am I right? I'm joined
Yes.
today, yes, with by my lovely co-host Sharon, and we are going to be talking about the Tao. We're continuing our Tao Te Ching series today, live. So we're really excited about that, and I'm going to start the show the way we always do with a quote. And I put on the lovely oversharing background. I made a little Henry David Thoreau ghost back there.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, with Canva because you could affect the transparency. So
The
I really,
opacity.
yeah, I was playing with it last night. So the quote anyway is the price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Henry David Thoreau. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. You know what's crazy about this is I exchanged a part of my life last night to make this lovely slide. So I'm going to keep it a little longer. And I
And
think it
that was
was
your price that you paid.
yeah, it was not, not a bad price because everybody got to enjoy the ghost of Henry David Thoreau. And if you want that, well, I'll throw it in the chat, the oversharing chat. So if anybody else wants it to share it around, the ghost of Henry David. But yeah, I think that's so true. I love that quote. Sharon sent it to me. And it really does come down to little simple things like that, right? Like what are you willing to spend your time on? Is it television or football? Anyway,
Television.
yeah, yeah.
Cody always does that. Was
Or is
that
it the oversharing
who's
show?
the one who said that? Was it Jordan Maxwell or was it
Oh yeah, one of those people.
Marcasio? One of those people, right?
Yeah, probably all of them. So true though. Television. Trying to think. Hilarious. But
Yes,
yeah.
indeed. But yes. And well, I really hope that I don't pull the same card again today because I'm going to pull from the I Ching again.
Nice.
I think we pulled it like four times in a row when I looked back. I,
Whoa.
I yeah, it's weird. Um, so let's see. Let's see what the I Ching has for us today. All right. 59.
All right.
Dispersing. Wind above, water below. Wind above and water below. There we go. And I'm going to read from the book. It's one of the last cards, or one of the last numbers.
How many cards are there or numbers?
64, is it?
All right.
63, 64. Mm-hmm. All right, here I go. Dispersing wind above, water below. Nothing survives forever, not even rocks or the most rigid of structures. Likewise, all of our obstacles will dissolve in time too. The erosion of that which has been solid is not a bad thing. In fact, it means that something new is in the process of being created. Picture ice floes. This is a word I don't really know. Floes. Hardened in winter and dispersing in the warmth of spring. When the ice melts, a mighty river emerges. This image points to a situation in which small changes produce big results over time. Rigidity in the hearts of humans breeds an egocentric separateness, but this can be transformed by a greater force, such as an uplifting ceremony or other communal activity. The thawing of closed hearts always improves conditions for everyone. Before the heart, the first thing to dissolve is any mental rigidity that might be feeding a sense of separation from others. Try to work closely with your friends and compatriots, concentrating on common activities that emanate from your integrity and goodwill. Some slightly dramatic action in support of the greater good might shift energy, lift spirits, and lead to new possibilities. Spiritual impulses, including a sense of justice, should be honored and acted upon now. Such impulses provide a gentle push toward important and constructive change. If you avoid righteous indignation or aggressive force of any kind, any sense of disunity can be overcome. If you have lingering business or partnerships that are inactive or not working, this reading suggests that you consider dissolving them. Ooh, interesting.
I like that.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Righteous indignation. Interesting. Good day, sarcastic warlock. Welcome.
Yeah, shout out to Sarcastic Warlock. Shout out to Iowalks. Time eats everything we build except my Minecraft server lives forever. Amen. So mote it be. What's up, Bullseye Dragon? Cheers from the cult hobos. Awesome. Yeah.
Welcome,
So
everyone.
today we're going to be talking about the Bhagavad, or not the Bhagavad. Sorry, I was looking at
Bhagavad
the
Gita,
Bhagavad
where are you?
earlier for because I was working on some comedy I want to do later. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the Tao today, the Tao Te Ching. We're
I
on
mean,
verse.
the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao, the Bible, they kind of talk about similar things. So I get it.
Yes, it's all that mumbo jumbo. Am I right? Am I right? But yeah, we're going to be talking about 21 and 22 today. So I guess that's pretty cool because 21 is blackjack and 22 is perfection, right? The master number or whatever.
Yeah, this is a
Oh,
great set of verses here.
yeah. Speaking of it, let's pull them up, shall we? And we will get started. All right, so here we go. Oops. Whoop. I didn't start at 22. Fast forward, everybody. Don't look at the screen. You might get there we go. See? Proof that we've done them all. The lovely Sharon has provided these slides. Okay, verse 21. I'm gonna read the if you're new to this, we have 4 different versions of the Tao, and we're gonna read each one straight through for verse 21. This version is Stephen Mitchell's version from 1988. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. Graspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. Since before time and space were, the Tao is. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. Ooh,
Mm,
a little poetic there. I like that.
yeah, I'm just going to say before I forget that the since before time and space were the Tao is. That reminds me of a Bible scripture that I'm going to have to look up once we talk about it. So I don't want to forget that.
Okay. Bible verse. I'll remember.
Yeah. Since, okay. So you'll remember to remind me?
Yeah. Yep. I'll put
All
on my.
right. I will read Dwight Goddard. He entitles this verse 21, The Heart of Emptiness. All the innumerable forms of day, which is virtue, we know that, correspond to the form of Tao or the norm of Tao. Okay, let me start all over again. All the innumerable forms of day correspond to the norm of Tao. But the nature of the Tao's activity is infinitely abstract and elusive. Elusive and obscure indeed, but at its heart are forms and types. Vague and elusive indeed, but at its heart is all being, unfathomable, unfathomable and obscure indeed. But at its heart is all spirit, and spirit is reality. At its heart is truth. From of old, its expression is unceasing. It has been present at all beginnings. Wow. How do I know that its nature is thus? By this same Tao. Wow. This verse is just mind blowing right now. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a issue with the
If you're
unfathomable.
speaking too quickly, it just rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. Ooh, look at how short the Stan Rosenthal version is. So just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
we've been corresponding each author or each interpreter, we shall say, of the Tao to a different um, element. Like, so we have earth, air, water, and fire. So the above two versions would be we'll get back to it when we get there though, but the water and earth, and then this one's more like the air version. So usually it's very wordy, the Stan Rosenthal 1984 edition, but this one is not too bad. So Dan Rosenthal from 1984, Finding the Essence of Tao is what he titles it. The greatest virtue is to follow the Tao, how it achieves without contriving. The essence of Tao is dark and mysterious, having itself no image or form, yet through its non-being are found image and form. The essence of Tao is deep and unfathomable, yet it may be known by not trying to know.
Wow.
Wow, that's the shortest one.
Welcome, Nigel. Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Yes,
Up,
indeed.
Nige?
All right. Well, Aleister Crowley entitles this The Infinite Womb. The sole source of energy is the Tao. Who may declare its nature? It is beyond sense, yet all form is hidden within it. Okay, note he doubles this, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's a typo or what, but the two like places where I looked, it was doubled, so I just left it.
Nice.
It is beyond sense, yet all perceptibles are hidden within it. Again, it is beyond sense, yet all perceptibles are hidden within it. It is beyond sense, yet all being is hidden within it. This being excites perception and the word thereof. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. Its name operateth continuously, causing all to flow in the cycle of change, which is love and beauty. How do I know this? By my comprehension of the Tao.
Oh, excuse me, Aleister Crowley. He's just like, by my perception, or whatever he said. That's because the other one's like, I look inside myself. It's all like a little more meek. But Aleister Crowley's like, I just know it
He's like, I just know y'all.
by my
Trust me.
perception.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Oops, I just scattered my screen. Yeah, so I do like this verse. Well, I like all the verses, I guess. But it's really cool because it is kind of poetic and it's pointing to like things before things and like everything's changeable except the Tao. Like there are these concepts that are they could seem like antithetical or kind of contradictory, right? But again, that's why they employ this poetic uh poetic theme as well as like kind of like Bible, like religious parable speaking, I guess we could put it. I'm gonna coin that term. Um yeah, so let's go back to 21. All right. So up here. Now this would be the water version, the Stephen Mitchell watery version from 1988. So do you want me to read the first two and we'll go through and do it that way?
Sure.
All right. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. The Tao is ungraspable. How can her mind be at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas. The Tao is dark and unfathomable. How can it make her radiant? Because she lets it. So we're getting the female version because in the beginning, Stephen Mitchell talks about how he just uses whatever pronoun, kind of uses them both.
Mixes and matches.
Or yeah, half as much. And you get a little bit, like I said, of this kind of poetic thing going on where the master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. That is what gives her her radiance. And then they bring it back like, how does it make her radiant? Because she lets it. So it's it reminds me a lot of kind of just going with the flow of things, and not trying to control them, right? The Tao is ungraspable. What if you can't grasp it, you can't control it. And then how do you keep your mind at one with it? Because she doesn't cling to ideas, which is just about attachment. We've talked about this a lot before. Doing, not doing, way woo way kind of stuff. And I think this is really where it gets in. It's kind of like repeating some of the ideas from the earlier verses, but just putting it in a different light. And I think that's something that, like with the Bible, you get four different gospels, and then there's probably more, right? And at least three of the gospels are pretty much based on each other, from what I remember hearing, allegedly. So I think the Gospel of John is the one that's different. But you
Yes.
get this repeating of different themes over and over again through religious texts and works. And I think that's kind of how the parableness, the poetry of it works into people. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like when you get a one hit wonder and then they come out with another song that's similar to the first song that was a one hit wonder, but everyone loves it anyway because it's like a continuation of that song. But this is, I guess, the spiritual way to do it. Yeah. But anyway, did you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, and it just kind of goes back to the whole like it cannot be named, like the very first verse of the Tao. So it's ungraspable. You can't describe it exactly, you know, it's unfathomable. It's just there's too much to it. And it's kind of like it reminds me again, as I've said before, of one of the 10 commandments, which is, thou shalt not make a graven image. Not that I'm saying that this is what y'all shall do. I'm not saying that I agree with that commandment. But what it's saying is it's not really possible. It's not, I don't think it's telling you don't do it. It's just saying if you do it, if you decide that you're going to uh whittle God down to just this little thing of like a golden calf, right? Or, oh, a little picture of Jesus on your counter or on your
Baby
wall. Like,
Jesus.
yeah, and baby Jesus, it's like that's not the essence of what God even is. So you can't even fathom it. So by making such a graven image, you're kind of like dumbing it down, I think. Um, and I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm just saying that just know that that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what that really was meant to mean.
And you're also giving your power away to a talisman. It could be, you can use certain talismans or crystals or, symbols to focus your energy to manifest and do things and work on it. But a graven image, and I think the reason why something wrong, especially if it represents like a whole religion or a cult or whatever, the problem with it is people are giving their power away. Well, maybe it's not a problem, it's all perfect, so good for them. But they're giving their power away to the symbol, like a cross, because they think a cross is going to stop a vampire from
Mm-hmm.
entering their
Right.
house or messing with them, when they don't realize it's just the
It's the
word,
symbolism.
the
Yeah.
symbol. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good call.
So that's another issue um, with that. What do they call it? Engraven images,
A
right? Or
graven image. Yeah.
yeah. So anywho,
All right.
but I think it's more of a symptom, though. I don't think exactly. I was thinking of this too because I'm working on this bit where I want to say like I've been to the mountaintop, right? Think about who else has been to the mountaintop. Moses, right? And when he came down, what did he have? The Ten Commandments.
The
And if
tablets.
you, the tablets, right? And if you work in these ideas that we've been kind of coming up with in the Tao, and then that quote that sarcastic warlock always talks about, where I actually took a picture of it because I want to quote it, so I have it.
Okay.
I want to perhaps quote it in my comedy, but I have it here. But all these ideas that we've been talking about, where is this? Here we go. It
Something
says,
about the wise man.
to an enlightened person who has known the self, all the Vedas, and you could say like Vedas or religious texts, basically. All the Vedas are of as much use as in a reservoir of water in a place where there is a flood. So it's all these ideas are kind of not really needed to people who get it, right? So Moses comes down the mountain and these people fucking don't get it because they're making engraved images. And again, this could doesn't mean it's a literal story, but this is where I'm trying to decode here a little bit. So he comes down the mountain, all these people are doing what they're not supposed to, so he has to give
Making a golden calf.
laws, making a golden calf. So he has to give them laws because that's all they'll understand from all the knowledge on the mountaintop that Moses just got. He's like us, like, oh my God, like
He
look at that
gets it.
11 or whatever, like you think we went to the moon? No, so he sees all this, right? But he can't be like, I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK because the guy next to him just going to be like, dude, I'm making a golden calf. I don't care. So he comes down with these tablets of laws because he knows that's basically all he can do without like woke raping them, right? He could just say you got to live by these laws because they need them because they're not
Exactly.
in ordinance with it, right? So it's the same kind of stuff. I don't remember how
Yes.
to go with that in the beginning, but oh, with the repeating of the and all this stuff, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's get back to this. Unless you had something you wanted to say about my nice little rant.
No, I think that was that's what I wanted to say for this verse or
Beat
this
your
part of
pants.
the verse.
Oh, cool. All
All
right.
right. Well, Dwight Goddard's 21st verse interpretation, again, he calls this the heart of emptiness. All the innumerable forms of day correspond to the norm of Tao, but the nature of the Tao's activity is infinitely abstract and elusive. Elusive and obscure indeed, but at its heart are forms and types. Vague and elusive indeed, but at its heart is all being. Unfathomable and obscure indeed, but at its heart is all spirit, and spirit is reality. At its heart, at its heart is truth. So,
Hallelujah.
so that first part, all the innumerable forms of day correspond to the norm of Tao. So day is virtue and the Tao is the way. So all the innumerable forms of virtue correspond to the norm of the way. Any thoughts on what that
Yeah, so I think
trying to say?
it's kind of like there's not just one way, there's so many ways to talk about virtue and to be virtuous. And they all correspond with the way. So any way you could be virtuous, it's the way that it should be, right? Like that's the
Okay,
way
I like that. Yeah,
of the
that makes
flow.
sense. Okay, so in other words, there are many ways to the mountaintop. And
Yeah.
somebody can be like, this is the only virtue. Thou shalt only, you know, worship Jesus or
Climb up the
worship the
way
Buddha
Moses did to the mountains
or,
way up.
yeah, or follow the 10 Commandments or XYZ, fill in the blank. But apparently, there's multiple ways to be virtuous, and they all correspond to the way. I love that. But the nature of the Tao's activity is infinitely abstract and elusive. Yes, 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 yes. It is very abstract. That's why people, like you said, that's why people need rules. That's why people need, like, give me some laws, give me something to follow because I don't know what to do. And many of us have had to go through this in life where we had to know, okay, since we're little, like, what do we do? Like, some of us were raised Christian, some of us were raised in different ways. But I think many people need, at least in some part of their life, at least in some lifetimes, to experience a place where they get the rules, where they get the laws, right? For context, because they need to kind of orient themselves until they get to the point where they're like, oh, I get it, you know, if they do get it this lifetime. But yeah, sorry if that was all over the place, but I get what he's trying to say here now. Very, very
Yeah,
true.
perfect.
And elusive and obscure indeed. I feel like he is he is being kind of elusive and obscure in this.
Indeed.
Right. This one is a very like vague verse interpretation. And he's using the words vague and elusive in this as well. So that's funny. And its heart is all being. Yes, unfathomable and obscure, but its heart is all spirit. Its heart, yes, and spirit is reality. So there we go. This world is not necessarily like the whole materialist thing that we always talk about, but it is a spiritual experience that we have. And our spiritual experience brings on this reality, this materialist looking reality, though we know that it's spirit.
Yeah, that's
And his
perfect.
heart
Spirit
is
is
truth.
reality.
Huh?
Spirit is reality. We could quote that, like, when I'm talking about the spiritual realm stuff and explaining it to people, I could be like a quote from Dwight Goddard's version of the Tao Te Ching from 1919, verse 21. Toward the end, he says, unfathomable. Wait, let's see. Oops. But at its heart, it's all spirit, and the spirit is reality, and its heart is truth. You could also quote the Kabbalion too. All is mind.
Indeed. There you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. All
This
right.
is awesome. Yeah. Are we ready for the next two
Yeah.
interpretations?
Bring it up here. Okay. So I'll bring it down to Stan Rosenthal, 1984, entitled, verse 21, entitled, Finding the Essence of Tao. The greatest virtue is to follow the Tao, how it achieves without contriving. The essence of Tao is dark and mysterious, having itself no image or form, yet through its non being are found image and form. Oh, look
Hmm.
at that. Very simple to the point. I like how he just says the greatest virtue is to follow the Tao,
Yeah.
and then he gives like a characteristic of it, or an action of the Tao is how it achieves without contriving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of just like what they're saying in the beginning, but just in a very easy way. Like it just goes with the flow. Like it achieves things without even trying, basically.
Mm-hmm. Without worrying too. Because when
Yeah,
you're contriving, you're probably worrying as well. I
great
love
point.
that. Um, Essence of the Tao is dark and mysterious, having itself no image or form. Yeah, again, like even like the Bible talks about like God having no real like form, right? Because it's he can't be described. Or, he, she, whatever it is, whatever God is, cannot be described. Yet through its
Hey,
non-being are found image and form.
didn't you want to bring up something with a Bible verse actually in the beginning? I was going to remind you. I put it in the chat, but
Yeah,
now you said
yeah,
that.
but it's coming up. It'll be the
Okay, cool.
next time you read. It'll be that.
Perfect.
Um, but yes, through its non-being are found image and form. So I know it sounds funny, but it reminds me of, the Bible where it's like, it was without form and void. That's what it reminds me of right now. Um, but it also makes me think of, um, God created us in his image, right? So through the non-being of God, which I perceive as the greater consciousness, like the great consciousness that created all of us, right? We are created in his image. So through that, it found image and form. We are an image and a form of that non-being, right? I don't know. That's what it made me think of.
Yeah, totally. So I can't be described.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Bring
Aleister Crowley.
We're right on the same page. Perfect. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. There you go.
Thank you, Quiet Sparky Bear. He says, this makes my ride home a little bit better.
Oh,
Thank you.
sweet. What's up, Quiet
Oh,
Park?
Sarcastic Warlock says, "In him we live and move and have our being." Yes, indeed. That is actually a Paul quote. Paul wrote that in one of his writings in the New Testament, and it's actually a it's one of the I can't it's like some kind of Greek text or something. It's he borrowed that from somewhere. I can't remember where. But he
Oh,
didn't like Paul didn't like make that up. He's quoting something. He's
uh,
quoting something. I think it's a Greek philosopher or multiple Greek philosophers.
Sarcastic Warlock, do you know this? Maybe he does. Put it in the chat if you do.
Yeah,
Thank
if you can do find that and see where that came from, put it in the chat because I don't have a moment to do that right now. So
What's up,
I'm
Luke?
going,
Welcome. Go ahead, though. I'm sorry.
yeah. Welcome, Blue Kachina. All right. So Aleister Crowley, The Infinite Womb, verse 21, the first little part of it is the sole source of energy is the Tao. Who may declare its nature? Wow. The sole source of energy. Yeah, like the great consciousness, the creator of everything. It is beyond sense, yet all form is hidden within it. It is beyond sense, yet all perceptibles are hidden within it. He says that one more time. It is beyond sense, yet all perceptibles are hidden within it. It is beyond sense, yet all being is hidden within it. This being excites perception and the word thereof. And when it says the word, all capital letters, it makes me think of in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. That's what that makes me think of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I like that. I really like the way that they repeat or that he repeats. Here, let me bring it back to us. How he repeats it is beyond sense 4 times, but then he actually repeats a whole sentence twice or once one
Yeah.
repeating. And it's in the sentence says, it is beyond sense, yet all perceptibles are hidden within it. So it's like everything perceivable. And he says it twice just to make sure you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very again, like we said, very like religious-y, like poetic,
Esoteric.
esoteric. Yeah, there you go. Love it. 4 times, huh?
Yeah,
Hmm.
all being is hidden within it. So let's see. He says form is hidden, perceptibles are hidden, and being is hidden. Form, perceptibles, and being are hidden within the Tao. That it is beyond sense, but yet all those things are hidden within it. Yeah. It's like mind blowing, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
This being excites perception.
And the word thereof.
Okay, can we just break that down just a little bit? This being, like, as in this great consciousness that created everything? Is that what he's saying? Or this being as,
Well, I think because he says it is beyond sense, yet all being is hidden within it. This being excites perception. So basically, the way I'm kind of reading this is everything is hidden within inside the Tao, and the being is hidden within inside the Tao, and that being is what excites perception and the word thereof. So that's the being that's inside the Tao is what we're experiencing. That's what we are being right now. That's the
that's what
word.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the all of us being excites our perception, our thought process,
Mm-hmm. It's
our
factor than what they
philosophizing.
would tell you in the materialistic realm, right? It's the other way around.
Explain that.
Well, my dear friends, most people will tell you that there's this meat thing inside your head, and that's where this uh reality, this experience that we're having, right? You could look out and see things, and you think and perceive and communicate and ponder and worry and cry and all these things we do. And it's because it's coming from in here, right? That's the materialistic thing. It's saying, oh, it's all just senses of the brain. And then what they're saying is that no, the brain is actually creating all of this. It's not, uh,
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it's funny because it's the same kind of thing. Like you're like, oh, it's just all inside your head. Your head's creating it. Yeah, it is, but it's not located right in the middle of my skull. Like, could it be all around us? Could it be we are all this stuff that we perceive? We could be like, think about Neo plugged into the Matrix as an analogy, right? When he's in the Matrix before they let him go, spoiler alert, and he gets flushed down the little pod toilet thing with all that gross juice. I'm thirsty now.
Mhm.
So all that gross pod juice, he gets flushed down. But before that, he's jacked in and he thinks all these things he's touching are him, right? But it's just a creation of the machine and his brain working together in this scenario. I'm not saying we're living in a simulation, everybody, but in that way, you could look at it as analogy to what they're trying to talk about here with being, with the brain. It's not all within the brain right here. This might not even be what we really think it is, right? It's just a experience we're having. Um, but it's a great experience. So I'm not trying to discount everybody. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing here. They're kind of flipping around the whole materialistic thing on its head, as most religions will do in their holy books. Not maybe what the people at the heads of them say, but right. So,
Yes.
there's
I am looking for um that philosophy, the Greek philosophy stuff.
oh, okay. Don't forget about the day,
Yes.
the
I
invisible
got it.
mover of the Tao,
Yeah,
like the
we haven't
best part.
gotten there yet, but thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, totally. We've talked about those two in the see, we have a whole YouTube playlist of just the oversharing shows where we're talking about the Tao. So you can actually use it as like a course in the Tao, if you will. But in the beginning, in the first episode, we did talk about Tao and day and a lot of that stuff. But I love your correlation with the Black Sun because I didn't make that connection. So thank you. That's why our show is so great because we have the best contributors just hanging out in our chat. And that's why we tell everybody to come hang out in the chat every time we're live. It's the best way you can support us and comment on these videos, like and share and subscribe. All right, I'm done with my commercial.
Okay, well, I found something just real quick. I'll just read what it says here. Where Paul says, in him we live and move and have our being. And it says, attributing characteristics like these to a divine being represented exactly the kind of common and superstitious notions of divinity that Epicurus had railed against. In a similar vein, Paul mentions the judgment and resurrection. Blah, blah. Okay, so I don't know where that's going. But anyway, yes, I've read that it actually came from somewhere in the Greek stuff, but I can't exactly find where I saw that. I thought I saved the link somewhere, but if I find it, I will share it and post it.
Yeah, no worries. Sounds like something that a Greek philosopher would say.
Yes, indeed. So, are we done with? Yes,
Yeah, I
I'm
think so. Here, I'll bring
okay.
it up now.
So,
All right,
verse
so
21, this,
Stephen Mitchell, second part.
yeah.
All right, so the second part of the Steve Mitchell 1988 version of the Tao, since before time and space were, the Tao is. I like that little play on tenses of the verbs. That's pretty cool. It is beyond is and is not. How do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. So
Hmm.
we got two major themes just of this section, right? Yeah. So you have talking about before time and space were the Tao is. So I think he's kind of saying, I love how he says the Tao is here because it's telling you that there's never been a past or future tense of the Tao. It's just perpetually in the present moment. And time and space, of course, because they are illusions. Who knows how long the illusion will last? We're currently caught up in this lovely illusion, but it is one day going to be over. Just like they said, everything is changing. All is change except for the Tao. The Tao is like the inner wheel of the spokes, so it doesn't exactly move or change. It's always the same thing here though, right? Um so time and space again will someday come to an end, and the Tao will still be. And then it says it is beyond is and is not. So again, with the existence thing, like to be or not to be, that is the question. Right? uh Well, the Tao is beyond all that stuff. So you can't exactly explain it to anybody and nail it down and prove it, right? But this isn't about proving anything. It's just like anything in symbolism or esoteric. It's kind of up to your own interpretation, based on the inner work that you've done, really, and attempt to do and still do to yourself. But yeah, it is so it's beyond all that. And then he goes, how do I know this is true? I look inside myself and see. So the second part of what I wanted to talk about in this little section is just the as above, so below principles, right? So I look inside myself and see, and you know that your inner world is just as above, so below, the kind of the outer world, the microcosm and macrocosm of how things work. So there's so much said in just these two little verses or little
Yes.
sentences.
And it reminds me of know thyself, right? Look inside. I look inside myself and see. So that's how I know. And like you said, as above, so below. But this is where I wanted to talk about that quote in
Oh
the
yeah,
Bible. So I found it. It's in John 8:58. And it's Jesus.
Jesus.
It's Jesus actually speaking. So for context, it says, it's the Jays telling him that he has a demon and stuff, right? And they're like, Abraham died and so did the prophets, but you say anyone who keeps your word will never taste death, and you're greater than your father Abraham. Are you saying you're greater than our father Abraham? He died, as did the prophets. Who do you claim to be? So this is Jesus answering him. And he says, if I glorify myself, my glory means nothing. The one who glorifies me is my Father, of whom you say he is our God. You do not know him, but I know him. If I said I did not know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad. Then they said to him, the Jays, you are not yet 50 years old, and you have seen Abraham? And this is the verse right here. Verse 58. Truly, truly, I tell you, Jesus declared, before Abraham was, I am.
Yeah.
Yaches. Okay.
Notch.
So this made me think of I am, right? Because it says the Tao
Yeah.
is. It just is. Right. And since before time and space were, the Tao is. So that's what Jesus was saying. He wasn't saying that for himself as I am the Son of God and it's allegory, people. You know,
Could it be?
could it be?
Probably, yeah, I think so. Yeah, 100%. And we could say since before time and space were, the Tao am. You know what I mean? To really screw with
Yeah.
people. What?
The Tao would say, I am, right? And like, if you look through all those verses where Jesus says, I am, and he says all these things about I am this, I am that, I am, the Jays were very angry and very upset for him making those I am statements.
Well, most of them were. Since Jesus was a J himself, he was just fine saying it. But I get what you're saying. I just wanted to drive that point home, everybody.
Yeah,
Jesus
well,
Christian.
well, allegedly, right? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And, some say it was the Pharisees, the you know, the ones that exalt exalted themselves above others, thinking that they knew the scriptures, but like you said, Warlock's favorite verse is about, like, if you're so freaking wise, do you even need them? Like, clearly you need them, because you don't get it all. You don't yet get it. So that's funny to me.
Yeah. And Sarcastic says, when Moses asked the bush who he was talking to, it answered, I am that I am.
Exactly.
And that's all I am. Like Popeye. It's real easy, guys.
Yeah. And that's what I think Jesus was trying to tell us is, we can say those I am statements. We are. We just are. We are being. We are. The Tao is living through us. The Tao is living us. God is living us, the great consciousness. And we just have to let it live through us.
Yep.
Dare I say.
For myself. Dare I say.
Yeah.
Be excellent to everybody. All
yes.
right.
Yes.
Should we bring up the Aleister Crowley?
Dwight Goddard?
Oh yeah, Dwight Goddard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that side of the page, but wrong. Yeah. All right.
All right. Dwight Goddard, the second, well, in this case, it's like the third little piece, but this is the second half that we're reading. Dwight Goddard, from of old, its expression is unceasing. It has been present at all beginnings. How do I know that its nature is thus? By this same Tao. Yeah. Let's see how it compares to the other verse. From of old, its expression is unceasing. It has been present. Any reason you scrolled down?
Oh, I thought you wanted me to read the next one. My bad.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm just reading Dwight Goddard's again. From of old, its expression is unceasing. It has been present at all beginnings. So this reminds me of a few years ago when I was looking into the Bible and studying it a little bit, trying to study it more deeply, and learning about the extra biblical texts, the deuterocanonical, whatever they call them, apocryphal, all these words. But anyway, there was a theory about that first and second verse of the Bible, and how there were a lot of things people were saying about those verses, how they just didn't make sense, because in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. So they're like, wait, what happened between when it was created and now it's chaotic? Like, God doesn't create chaos, right? So what made the chaos? So people were saying, oh, it's like a reset, basically. And so there was talk of like, oh, it doesn't even mean in the beginning. It actually means in any beginning, like when you really translate it. So that kind of reinforces the thought of like, oh, it's a reset. Like when this realm, or whatever you want to call it, gets reset, it kind of starts all over again. Makes me think of a few verses back when we were talking about the golden age and all the ages that deteriorate all the way to the Kali Yuga, where it just gets so bad and then it just like falls apart and then reset, golden age again. So it just makes me think of this, right? This made me think of that. From of old, its expression is unceasing. It has been present at all beginnings, right?
Yeah.
Beginnings of everything, beginnings of resets, beginnings of ages, beginnings of everything. So it's not, and it also makes me think of, how people are like, God doesn't create chaos, or did God create evil too? How dare you say that God creates evil too? Like, Um,
How dare
it's
you?
like, well, he's present in all things. Like, don't think that he doesn't allow for it. For he gave you free will, right? He allows for all of that. So anyway, that's my little spiel. Sorry.
No, you're 100% right there. And it's like at all the beginning. So even no matter what version of this realm is or what we are, like I postulate that sometimes we might just be energy or electricity coming around and back into this physical realm that we think we're in. It still follows the Tao. It's still the way. It's just like the path. So yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. All right, I will bring this up now. Excuse me, everybody, for that. Some lovely coconut water I had.
Sarcastic Warlock says, check this out. Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Exactly. Thank you for sharing that because that is in there. I've seen that verse in the Bible.
I wonder if what happens if I share the chat. Let's see. Oh, look,
Oh, there you go.
cool. I wonder if I make it bigger.
Christians didn't read or don't read the Bible or they wouldn't argue against this. Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
There you
Awesome.
go.
Well, now we know we could do that. Cool. You know what? Let me pin it while we're here. I'll stop the share first. Stop the share. No, never stop the share.
No,
Uh,
don't.
I'll bring up the
Just
next verse.
kidding. There's a time for everything, right?
Everything in its
There's a
time.
time for sharing, there's a time for caring, there's a time for oversharing, and there's a time for being quiet. Oh,
Exactly.
Closing Time by Supersonic. That's right. Closing time. Every
Semisonic
new beginning
comes from all other
is
beginnings.
something.
And
And yeah.
yeah, quiet Sparky Bear. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You could stay
That's
here, everybody.
right.
You could stay here for a little while longer, at least while we are live. But yes, 100%. That's a big end of the night closing song people ask for. Um, all right. So Stan Rosenthal, 1984, Finding the Essence of Tao, the last part here, last third part. The essence of Tao is deep and unfathomable, yet it may be known by not trying to know.
Mm.
Ooh. So that's a quick one. There's no really um reference to how this guy knows it. Like everyone else is like, this is how I know. He's just like, the essence of the Tao is deep and unfathomable, yet it may be known by not trying to know. And it's
Mm.
the old doing, not doing, way, woo, way kind of, oops. Um, there we go.
Letting the Tao be lived through you, going with the flow.
Going with the
Um,
flow.
yeah, and when you sometimes when you're trying too hard, like it makes me think of like when people say like, "Oh, I've been looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever for a long time and it feels like it's never going to happen." And people tell them, "Listen, if you calm down, just relax, be yourself, be in the moment, just be content where you're at and it'll happen when you least expect it," right? That is basically what it's telling you to do. Like, don't worry, just be, let it
Happy.
happen.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
couldn't help. Don't
Huh?
worry, be happy. Like that song,
Yeah.
Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It reminds me I used to work with this guy when I first got into sales, and he was like a sales manager, and he would tell me all these different things, like, "Oh, you gotta do this," and I'd be like, I'm trying," and he's like, "You're very trying." And I'm like, "Ah, I see what you did there," but yeah, same kind of thing. There
There
is
is
no
no
try.
try.
There's only do and do not. Yes,
the
Yoda, wise
the
words of
great
wisdom
Yoda.
from Yoda the Great. Yogurt. All right. Let's see here. Boom, boom.
Aleister Crowley is being a little bit more wordy, but he's esoteric, so sometimes it takes a few more words to do that. So here we go. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. I like that. Its name operateth continuously, causing all to flow in the cycle of change, which is love and beauty. How do I know this? By my comprehension of the Tao. Yeah. This is again, he's talking about the beginnings, right? Um, as it was in the beginning, is now, it shall ever be. So Dwight Goddard talked about it has been present at all beginnings, right? So it's reminding me again of that continuous cycle. You know, we're
Yep.
always in the cycle. There's always change. There's always cycle ages of time, right? Um, so causing all to flow in the cycle of change, yeah, which is love and beauty. How do I know this? By my comprehension of the Tao. And of course, yes, again, we said he was being a little bit, a little bit arrogant about, I get it.
Also, too, hidden in there is kind of like, how do I know this? Because I comprehend it. So it's basically like, this is just how it is. Same thing, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. Its name operateth continuously. So it's always the Tao, causing all to flow in the cycle of change, which is love and beauty. But how do I know this? Because I comprehend it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And again, this whole causing all to flow in the cycle of change. He's not saying, I'm only causing the good ones, the ones that follow me. No, he's causing all to flow in the cycle of change. Even the people who are following their own will and desire to do something that is perhaps, shall we call it,
Reprehensible.
reprehensible or negative, right? Negative polarity. Um, Something that isn't in line with the uh principle of, you know, love God, love people,
Yeah,
or
that too.
the golden rule, you know. So he's causing all to flow in the cycle of change.
It's kind of like, the golden rule is just an easier way to get through this existence and to expand your consciousness and elevate it. But you don't have to. We're not saying that you have to do that. It's just an easier way. That's what they're saying here. Like, listen, this is just an easier way to do it. That's what most religions, I think, their texts are saying, but they're
Yeah,
not really a judgment there. I guess
exactly.
Christian stuff, but
But
still,
then
go ahead.
I was sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was fizzling out. Go ahead.
I was just saying lots of people have created or twisted the religious texts to be like, oh, I've studied this. I can tell you what it means, and I can tell you what, I'm the only arbiter of truth of what this means, right? So don't go elsewhere, don't look elsewhere. I can tell you, but it's like, what were you saying that made me think of that? Oh, that the texts, they're all kind of telling you the same kind of thing. And they're not telling you what to do. They're just giving you examples, like the Tao does that. The Bible does it kind of more allegorically, and it sounds like it's maybe it was twisted to do that, to make you think that, oh, thou shalt do this, right? You must do this in order to, right? Where it's more like, no, these are just ideas, these are thoughts, these are suggestions, these are guidelines.
Even if you take it literally, like, thou shalt not, like, to get into the kingdom of heaven, thou shalt not do these things. Well, if you just take the kingdom of heaven or whatever idealistic high place that they were talking about at the time that you can attain as just a state here in this realm of heaven or harmony with the way everything works, as opposed to one that's at odds with it, then yeah, you follow these rules and it goes a lot smoother. But it's not like you have to, and we're going to condemn you and we're going to like put you on a cross and burn you and like curse you and all this stuff. It's just like, no, you're going to do that to yourself. You're going to curse yourself, and you're probably going to have a shitty day. And most shitty days are going to happen because you're not living this way. So things are just going to keep happening to you until you figure it out. So even if you take what they wrote and look at it um, in a way that we try to look at the Bible or all these religious texts in some kind of allegorical way, you can even make that inference.
Yeah. Uh, it just made me think of like when you were saying like the Ten Commandments or whatever, like thou shalt not do this if you want to get to the kingdom of to the kingdom of heaven or whatever. Let's just say it is there is this place called the kingdom of heaven or whatever that you can go to, right? Whatever it may be to you. And those things, those guidelines that say like thou shalt not do these things. Well, it's just to me, it's like those are just saying that someone who is going to be in this realm of like peace and harmony and beauty, like won't exhibit those things. Like they won't kill people. They
Yeah.
won't lust after their neighbor's wife. They won't XYZ. You know what I mean? So it's just saying these are the things that are a person exhibits when they are in a category for going to that wonderful place called heaven. So, if you see someone doing those things, clearly they're probably not on that path, right? I think that's what it's trying to say. It's not like if you do this, you're going to blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, maybe you are going to hell, but it's a hell of your own making because who forced you to, go get pissed drunk and do all these drugs and be crazy and messed up? Like, who forced you to do that? You probably did it to yourself. Can you fix that? Can you change it? Only you can.
So true. I think we're starting to get it. No, that's 100% true. Let's see what the chat's saying. My favorite quote, it is what it is. Yes. All
It is
right.
what it is.
It is what it is. Let there be light. Don't force it. Yes, Nigel. Awesome. Under Sharon. Nice. All right. Yeah, I think that's it then, right?
We ready for verse 22?
On to the next one. We are. Let me just pop that one up here. There we go. All right. Verse 22, Stephen Mitchell from 1988. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die.
Mm.
If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can't see people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself.
Mm.
Oh.
Very nice. Dwight Goddard entitles verse 22 Increase by humility. At that time, the deficient will be made perfect, the distorted will be straightened, the empty will be filled, the worn out will be renewed, those having little will obtain, and those having much will be overcome. Therefore, the wise man, embracing unity as he does, will become the world's model, not pushing himself forward. He will become enlightened. Not asserting himself, he will become distinguished. Not boasting of himself, he will acquire merit. Not approving himself, he will endure. For as much as he will not quarrel, the world will not quarrel with him. Is the old saying, the crooked shall be made straight, a false saying? Indeed, no. They will be perfected and return rejoicing.
Oh, I like it. That's right. All right. Stan Rosenthal from 1984, Yielding to Maintain Integrity. Yield and maintain integrity. To bend is to be upright. To be empty is to be full. Those who have little have much to gain, but those who have much may be confused by possessions. The wise man embraces the all encompassing. He is aware of himself, and so,
Unaware.
he is unaware of himself, and so has brilliance. Not defending himself, he gains distinction. Not seeking fame, he receives recognition. Not making false claims, exactly. See, you're not making false claims. He does not falter, and not being quarrelsome is in conflict with no one. This is why it was said by the sages of old, yield and maintain integrity, be whole, and all things come to you. I love how they all
Mm.
have a different thing that was
They
said
all,
at times.
right? I feel like they're saying different things, but
Yeah,
I mean, they're saying the same thing, but in a very different way.
yeah,
Um, all right. So Dwight called it increased by humility. Stan called it yielding to maintain integrity. And Aleister Crowley calls it the guerdon of modesty. Now, I don't know what that means. So I don't know if Brandon, you want to look it up or I can look it
sure.
up too.
No, I'll look it up.
All right. Aleister Crowley says, the part becometh the whole, the curve becometh straight, the void becometh full, the old becometh new. He who desireth little accomplishes. I'm going to try to read this without the F's because that screws me up. He who desires little accomplishes his will with ease. Who desires many things becomes distracted. Therefore, the sage concentrates upon one will, and it is as a light to the whole world. Hiding himself, he shines. Withdrawing himself, he attracts notice. Humbling himself, he is exalted. Dissatisfied with himself, he gains force to achieve his will. Because he strives not, no man may contend against him. That is no idle saw of the men of old. The part becomes the whole. It is the canon of perfection.
Nice. All right, so Gurdon. Here I could do this. I looked it up, and here it is. Gurdon. There's a nice little kayaking video. Let's get out of all those advertisements. So it's a noun. As a noun, it's a reward, recompense, or requital. And verb, to give a guerdon to. It's a reward. So
There you go. So a reward of modesty, then.
word of modesty. All right. Word of the day is guerdon. When we say it, everyone's got to go crazy. All right. So,
Gurdon.
um, oh, that's it then. Oh, you want me to start up here now, right? Yeah. Okay. Stephen Mitchell, 1988. We'll read the first two. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If
Mm.
you want to be given everything, give everything up. This really reminds me of the Bible, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just illustrating the cycle of everything and the impermanence,
Mm.
just how everything's going to shift and change. So instead of getting wrapped up on in it, just notice that that's the way it works. You don't have to know anything about the Tao or even what the word Tao means. You just see the balance and the changing and everything, and you could just start to align your life with that, and then you'll be living an easier life, or maybe
Mm.
not easy, but just a little easier. um, the master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. because he has no goal in mind. Everything he does succeeds. So I really like the part where he says, because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. And that kind of reminds me of like the ego and like having this strong point of view and opinion. But if you're just open to what people have to say, and it's not like you have to jump on every bandwagon, but you just listen and you don't judge them. I think that people will see themselves in you or you in them in that way because they see the common ground that you guys have. And it might work out better because you don't have to be like at the butcher counter arguing about like the Berenstain or Steen Bears, like or whatever it is. But yeah.
Um, the part where it says, because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Um, I don't, when he says display, not sure what he means by that. I think more of like a showy off, like I'm showing off that that I'm light and that I know. Um, it's more like he just is, and people will see his light. So it reminded me of a quote that I posted this morning in the chat. It says, lighthouses don't go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. And this
Yeah.
is by Anne Lamott. I don't know
Right.
who she is, but it's a very to the point, a quote that is very to the point and makes a lot of sense. You just just stand there, just be yourself. And people will see your light. It's also like, reminds me of the Bible verse. Um, and I don't remember where it's at, but Jesus is basically telling them, um, dang it, I lost my train of thought, but he's saying something to that effect of, don't be showy, don't go off and like stand in the square and pray and let everyone see you pray. It's like, go into your corner, go into your closet, in your prayer closet, which we've heard um Bill Donahue talk about, is the right side of the right, like meditation and that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, it's like, do that and God will reward you, right? I think we talked about this in a previous episode,
Yeah,
but
it's all
it
it's all
reminds me of that.
similar. It's like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for attention and to make yourself feel better so people
Yeah.
see you?
It's intention.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Dwight Goddard. Dwight baby. All right.
All right, Dwight Goddard, verse 22. Increase by humility. And we're going to read the first two pieces of this. At that time, the deficient will be made perfect, the distorted will be straightened, the empty will be filled, the worn out will be renewed, those having little will obtain, and those having much will be overcome. So in this piece, I like how Dwight Goddard says it, because it's not it's not so strong, I guess, as the way Stephen Mitchell says it, where it's like, if you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. Like, if you want to be reborn, let yourself die. Which like the whole part of let yourself die, like to be reborn. That's even biblical too. Like, you must be born again, right? It's a spiritual thing. Jesus wasn't talking about like, Nicodemus went over to him and is like, are you kidding me? I have to go back into my mother's womb. How do I do that? And Jesus is like, you don't get it. It's a spiritual thing. You have to let all the material nature, your desires of the flesh and all that, you have to let that go. And it's not going to happen overnight. You just have to do it till you're done, like we say, and at some point, hopefully this lifetime, you'll recognize that there's more to life than the material, right? And you'll recognize the spiritual when you get to that point. That is the born again point, right? The spiritual rebirth. So anyway, that I forgot to say that when we were reading the Stephen Mitchell part, but I like how Dwight Goddard is kind of doing a little bit differently. He's saying, like, if you're empty, it's okay because you're going to be filled. If you're worn out, it's okay. You'll be renewed. Like, this can happen for you. Um, it's possible. So anyway, I like how he does that. So the next little bit of the Dwight Goddard verse is, therefore the wise man, embracing unity as he does, will become the world's model. Not pushing himself forward, he will become enlightened. Not asserting himself, he will become distinguished. Not boasting of himself, he will acquire merit. Not approving himself, he will endure. For as much as he will not quarrel, the world will not quarrel with him.
Yeah, so it's like a again, it's highlighting the cycles again and the give and the take of everything. Like if it boils down to where your attention goes, your energy flows, really.
Yeah. Yeah, like again, not forcing anything, just allowing things to happen.
Yes,
Not
and if
asserting, not
yep.
boasting.
So if you're trying to become enlightened, you won't become enlightened. You're just going to be trying to become enlightened the whole time or whatever it is, like asserting yourself
Just
and
you're
not
just
boasting.
trying.
Yeah, because if you're trying to acquire merit, then you would boast. That's what it seems like, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
not about trying. It's just about doing it. Yoda.
Yeah. And then this little part of the quarreling, I have to say something.
Yeah, I'll bring it back up.
For as much as he will not quarrel, the world will not quarrel with him. I gotta say, the people in our chat are not quarrelsome. You
Nope.
know, we are here sharing our thoughts. We're reading something, we're giving commentary on it. Um, we're quoting different, I should say, uh, religious texts. And I quote the Bible mostly because I know it the most because I grew up with it. But we're reading the Tao. We've read the Bhagavad Gita. We've read the Kybalion. We've read all these things. And maybe we'll do this sort of thing with some of those other books as we go along. But um, you know, we don't quarrel, and we're not arguing and upset with each other about, or having some sort of debate on who's right. Who is right? I'm right. No, you're wrong. We don't do that. So I don't think because we don't attract that kind of energy, or sorry, we don't put out that energy, we don't attract that energy. So our chat is really cool. And I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, shout out to the chat.
Absolutely.
You guys are the best. The
The
best.
best of the best.
Best of, yeah. The elite best of the best. We'll make it better. We're like Top Gun for spirituality, everybody. Look at us. Be like us. Yeah, no, it's so true though. 100%.
I'm not trying to be arrogant about it. I'm just making
No,
an observation.
no, it's so cool though. It really is to have these people in here. It's that's what I was thinking of while you were saying that. It's like we're taking all these separate ideas. So it's kind of like if you were a chef and you took all these different ideas like Indian cuisine and all this stuff, and
And
you might end up
Mexican and
yeah, you might end up with like some uh what's
fusion.
yeah, no fusion, but what's the thing that they do in India that's really good? The spice
Chicken
ruined my
tikka masala.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Curry. There you go. We're gonna end up
Oh,
with curry hamburgers. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
and
See,
rice and beans with it instead of like fries, like
it's it's funny you say that because I saw on Instagram a few days ago about how people from India, men from India had come to the coast of California and to California to work um some decades ago, and they didn't have women to marry that were their own, because it was mostly men who came out, so they ended up marrying Mexicans. So their families ended up doing this blend. The wives would still make kind of Mexican food, but they would also try to incorporate the Indian food. And so they like made this blend, this variety that's like a fusion of Indian and Mexican. And it's like, it looks delicious. I would like to try it someday.
You're making me hungry. Yeah,
I
no, that sounds
know.
great. Curry burritos, everybody. We're gonna do it. That's what we're doing over here at the Oversharing Show. All right,
Curry
cool.
burritos.
Curry burritos, and everybody loves it. The Iron Chef. All right, so I'm at the Stan Rosenthal first two parts. Yielding to maintain integrity. Yield and maintain integrity. To bend is to be upright. To be empty is to be full. Those who have little have much to gain, but those who have much may be confused by possessions. I like this because it's like it's like a misdirection. You think they're going to be like, those who have little have much to gain, but those who have much have little to gain. But you're like,
Yeah.
nope, maybe because you can always get more, right? But you may be confused by possessions. So I like that little part. And then it goes on. The wise man embraces the all-encompassing. He is unaware of himself, and so has brilliance. Not defending himself, he gains distinction. Not seeking fame, he receives recognition. Not making false claims, he does not falter. And not being quarrelsome is in conflict with no one. So it does kind of remind me of the Stephen Mitchell version, or the yeah, the no, I'm sorry, the Dwight
The
Goddard
Dwight
version.
Goddard version. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Stephen
Uh,
Mitchell kind of took a different route. I mean, he still says similar things, but yeah, definitely Stan Rosenthal and I think Aleister Crowley and Dwight Goddard kind of go along the same vein. Um, let's see. And not being quarrelsome, he is in conflict with no one. Yeah. Very similar to the Dwight Goddard.
yep. It seems like they're all following the same rhythm, just with a different kind of way to put it in different words.
Yeah.
All right, here.
All right. Aleister Crowley, the first two parts of this verse, verse 22. The guerdon, which we determined is a reward of modesty. The part becometh the whole, the curve becometh straight, the void becometh full, the old becometh new. He who desires little accomplishes his will with ease. Who desires many things becomes distracted. That's very similar to the Stan Rosenthal right there. Very similar because he's talking the bend to be upright, the curve becomes straight. To be empty is to be full. The void becomes full. And then those who have much to gain, those who have little have much to gain. And then Aleister says, he who desireth little accomplisheth his will with ease. And then the being confused by possessions, Aleister says, who desires many things becomes distracted. Very, very similar there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of this, Aleister Crowley says, therefore the sage concentrates upon one will, and it is as a light to the whole world. Okay, what did Jesus say? I am the light of the world. He didn't mean Jesus, literally. He meant the Christ consciousness, people. Hiding himself, he shines. Withdrawing himself, he attracts notice. Humbling himself, he is exalted. Dissatisfied with himself, he gains force to achieve his will. Because he strives not, no man may contend against him. There you go. That's the being quarrelsome part. He doesn't strive, so no one tries to contend against him.
It's kind of like we say, we don't really argue or debate with people. It's just kind of silly. I mean, maybe I would do it if it was like a fun comedy thing or whatever, but um, that's why nobody can contend with us because we're not trying to contend with anybody. We have
Yeah.
nothing to prove. We're just
Yeah.
oversharing.
Yeah. We're not forcing anyone to to think a certain way. I mean, if you like listening to us, do. If you think we're boring, by all means, please. You
Right.
don't need to listen to us.
Nope. The other part I like about this too is dissatisfied with himself, he gaineth force to achieve his will. So that reminds me
Mm,
of the part where you die, right? In order to live, you
mm,
have to die. But he's
mm.
saying now instead of a physical, just using die, where a lot of people think it was physical, he's saying the people who become dissatisfied with themselves, they find
Yes.
a force of will through that dissatisfaction anyway. So because they're dissatisfied,
Satisfaction.
yes, dissatisfaction. Thank you, Sharon. I knew there was right in there somewhere. Because of this dissatisfaction, they find this force of will to change their behavior and to live a different way.
Absolutely. That is when you have done it till you're done, right?
Yeah, and that's what he says, right? He says dissatisfied with himself, not that anyone's dissatisfied with him, not that anyone's lecturing him or leaving YouTube comments or starting beef or whatever. It's like, no, he figured it
He's
out. He's
done.
like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Else,
Great verse. Really great verse.
yeah. How dare you praise Aleister Crowley? All right. Okay, so I'm gonna read the second part here of the Steve Mitchell version, verse 22. The last part, sorry. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself.
Mm,
And this is going to
mm,
start a theme
mm,
that we already noticed where they're going to do throwbacks. So at the end of each part of verse 22, everybody has a little throwback. This guy's talking about ancient masters and then saying, if you want to be given everything, give everything up. And I like that. I think it's a very Buddhist interpretation of this. You could see how that stuff kind of, all those ideas were around for a long time. Because
mm-hmm.
so he's talking about it in the Tao, which we know is an ancient text. And he's referring to other ancient masters that said, if you want everything, you got to give everything up.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So it's like, again, like the Tao, it's always been there. Like this way's always been there. Just how I feel like it's possible that if there's resets or something happen, a cataclysm, like certain areas of the world, I feel like populate themselves with humans, like just like plants come back. I think that also can happen with people for some reason,
Mm,
just like a fish fall, and people, and then they might even
mm-hmm.
have these. I was thinking about this the other day too, a little bit of sidetrack, but as I was driving, I was thinking about this concept, right? um, because people being tied to the land. And I think there's something about the area where people live. So even if they're all wiped out, everyone dies. And then through this crazy, wacky idea that we're oversharing about, people spontaneously come back to land. I feel like it's kind of like, uh, that guy that talks about things and we don't say his name, bald guy, really funny.
Yeah.
When he talks about how some civilizations kind of just appeared out of nowhere and sometimes they disappear. Well, I feel like it's possible people could
Mm,
appear and then they already have these ideas and traditions and like sayings that they say, like why did the chicken cross the road or any of these sayings that people always just keep repeating down through the time in the ages. I feel like the land goes through a change because it's all, if you think about it, it's all spirit, right? So why wouldn't it work that way? Because we're
right.
close to this land, there's certain vibrations. So that's the way that we're gonna feel and the traditions we're gonna have and all that stuff. But
I
anyway,
like that. I like
uh,
that thought process. Very,
yeah.
very, very interesting thing to consider. Reminds me of the verse in the Bible, Romans 2:14. Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law, allegedly, do by nature what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the law. It's like it's built into you, it's built into all of humanity to know what is right and what is wrong, right? It's built in.
But then they'll go and say things like, you know, everybody gets to hear about the word of God at least once before they die in the words of Jesus, like
Yeah, like
They need
people,
it.
yeah, like you said, to the wise, like Sark's favorite quote, to those who know, you don't need all those scriptures. I don't know how to say, put it into,
It's like rains on a floodplain.
yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so let's see, where were we?
Oh, I'll bring up the other version here, and you could read the last part of the Dwight Goddard version.
Okay. Let me just quickly peruse the last part of Stephen Mitchell,
Oh,
just see
make
if
sure,
we
yeah.
didn't, if we missed anything. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself. Yeah, I like that because it's saying the same thing we've been saying, which is like just allow yourself to be lived by the Tao, because that is what your true nature really is.
Yep.
All
It's
right.
kind of like they, in the beginning of the Tao, they're highlighting all these different concepts. And right now they're expanding upon these concepts and they add them to other things that they're putting in. But it's this repeating process that I was speaking about earlier, you know. It's
Yeah.
really is poetic and it really is a great way to teach people by keep repeating, you know, you keep repeating these concepts, but just in different ways. It's like you know them inside out by the time you're done reading this.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. The Dwight Goddard, the final piece of verse 22 says, is the old saying, the crooked shall be made straight. Is that a false saying? Indeed, no. They will be perfected and return rejoicing. Now, I noticed that what he's quoting, he says the old saying, the crooked shall be made straight. And Stephen Mitchell is saying, if you want to be given everything, give everything up. Those two don't really match really. Like so they're giving a kind of a different interpretation of whatever was in the Chinese. We don't even know. I don't know. I at least I'll say. Um, but the crooked shall be made straight. That's even in the Bible, honestly. The crooked shall be. I wonder if Dwight Goddard was like influenced by Christianity too, or the Bible.
Mm.
The crooked shall be made straight, or make straight the path, or something like that. I feel like that's in the Bible.
Or also,
Um,
it could have been he knew he had a Western audience to show
mm,
this to, so he's using these biblical concepts because really all it is what's the word, conundrum, or it's like a I had the word before. It'll come back to me. Don't worry, everybody. But it's paradox. That's it. It's just a paradox, right? If you want everything, you have to give everything up. You know, the crooked will be made straight. They're just these paradoxes that are highlighting the unchanging nature of our spiritual realm, if you will. You know, the reality is always changing. So the crooked will eventually be made straight. If you want to have everything, you got to give it up because if you're chasing it, you're going to miss it, right? So,
yeah, I found the verse in the Bible. It's Luke 3:5, at least in some interpretations. The New International Version says, every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill made low. The crooked roads shall become straight, the rough ways smooth. So it's in there somewhere.
exactly. And again, they say the old saying, right? So,
It's not just from the Bible, it's from way before.
mm-hmm. Could it be?
They will be perfected and return rejoicing. What do you think that's referring to right there?
That reminds me of the prodigal son,
Mm,
right? How he goes out and he has to do his thing, then he comes back and he's excited about it and rejoicing. Same kind of idea where you have that saying where it's like you're in the right place, like when you return home and you don't recognize it. It's
mm,
just a different point of view that you have, and then you can rejoice on the same exact thing the same laundry you did last week, you're gonna wash it again today. But instead of being like, oh, why do I gotta waste my time washing these clothes? You could be like, isn't it amazing that we have these machines that wash our clothes and I could just hang out down here, and listen to an audiobook or whatever, like
Yeah,
there's different ways of looking at things.
absolutely. Which reminds me, I was supposed to put a load of laundry in before I started the show and I forgot. So thanks for the reminder. I'll do it after we're done.
Oh, I'm probably gonna do laundry tonight too. I think I'm planning on going to an open mic again tonight, everybody. So I went to one a few weeks ago, but it's already been gone by so fast. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm excited. Been working on some new stuff.
Nice.
All right, here we go. Just a little inside of our lives, laundry and comedy. This so on the Stan, excuse me, the Stan Rosenthal version, the last part here. This is why it was said by the sages of old. Again, we get this old ancient correlation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yield and maintain integrity. Be whole, and all things come to you. So this isn't really a paradox. It's just telling you that, you could maintain your integrity. And I like it because it's the swords version, he's telling you right out in so many words, you could still yield and maintain your integrity. Like you don't have to hold on so hard to all your beliefs and all the way you think it should be. You can let it go, but you could still have your integrity. Don't sell out.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And
be
I
true.
notice,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was saying just be true to yourself.
Yes. And I notice again that it's a different kind of quote, right? So again, just to recap, Stephen Mitchell says, if you want to be given everything, give everything up. Dwight Goddard says, the crooked shall be made straight. And Stan Rosenthal says, yield and maintain integrity, be whole, and all things come to you. It's different. It's a different old saying.
And I love it because nobody's crediting anybody with saying it. They just said the sayings of old. They're not like, oh, fucking Zarathustra said this shit, like or Buddha or whatever. No, it's Thor, right? Nope.
Nice.
This is what these jerks used to say. Listen to them. They know what they were doing.
The
All right.
closest one is from Stephen Mitchell, who says, if you want to be given everything, give everything up. It's kind of closer to that one.
Yeah.
And all things come to you. All right. Well, Aleister Crowley says something even different, I think. Maybe. He says, okay, it says, that is no idle saw of the men of old. Saw? Is that another meaning? Is there another meaning for saw?
Ooh, idle saw. Let's look it up. I think what he's saying is so if you think of what a saw is, it's like a tool that shapes wood,
Mm-hmm.
and if he's saying that is no idle saw, I think he's referring to this verse that he's about to say, and he's trying
Yeah.
to tell you guys that it's not like some, uh idle saw. Just no, that's some BS that people are trying to share, right? There's something there you should pay attention to.
Yeah. That is no idle saw of the men of old. And he quotes, the part becometh the whole. It is the canon of perfection. So it is, how do I become perfect? Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. That's what Jesus said, right? Be ye perfect. So the canon of perfection, the part becometh the whole. What are we? We are images of God made in God's, well, we are creations of God made in his image, right? The part becometh the whole. When we, some say, right, when we leave this realm, we go back to the whole. We go back to God, to the essence, the great divine source of all things. Right? That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, 100%.
The part becomes the whole. Yield and maintain integrity, be whole, and all things come to you. That's kind of similar. He's using the word whole again there. like Stan Rosenthal uses it too.
Yeah, and that what have we been talking about? Like, oops, what did I just do this whole time? It's like good and evil, right? It's all part of the whole, hot and cold, up and down. It's all
Black and
part of
white,
black
left
and
and
white.
right.
Well, I don't know about the blacks. Just kidding, everybody. But yeah, no, totally. That reminds me, I don't, you think this has any legs? I've heard on Facebook, a friend of mine, like a mutual friend, I was talking with somebody, he got like a 30-day suspension on Facebook because he said white trash. Like you can't say that. So I was thinking of posting a status. I haven't been on Facebook in forever, but I was thinking of posting a status where it was like, I love white trash bags for the kitchen, and black trash bags are better
Bags
for
for
bigger
the
things.
garden,
Yeah, for your garden.
right? Garden trimmings. Don't you
Yeah.
put those in big black garbage bags?
Yeah. Kitchens and gardens, right? That'd be funny. I think I might have a bit. I don't know. I,
Oh,
I just be like, I love white trash bags for the
bags.
kitchen. All right. So yeah, no.
Not dirt bags or douche bags, but
Yeah, Sharon, how dare you? Just kidding. Um,
oh,
yeah, and oh, that's what happened. It is the canon of perfection. Like that's just, it's the way it goes, right? The canon, which is like the storyline, right? Or
the canon isn't it like an approved set of something or other?
yeah, well, people will say approved canon, right? Like this is the canon. So yeah, I mean it's
Okay,
like
let
that.
me read
But yeah,
what the
go ahead.
definition of a canon is. An ecclesiastical rule or law enacted by a council or other component authority, and I won't read that part. Or it is the body of ecclesiastical law.
So the law of perfection, right? It is the law of perfection, basically.
Basically, God's law.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, what's up, Gordy Two Shoes?
Oh,
Measured out to
there he
perfection,
is.
Blue. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Who? I heard Owl the other night. It was like, who? And I'm like, it's me. You don't recognize me? Every time I hear Owl
Hello.
when I go hiking at night or I'm in the woods, I'm like, it's
You're
me.
like, it's me, you guys. Hello.
Who are you?
Shall I read the last bit of this card?
Yeah, you shall. And then we could put a cork in this episode, a fork in this episode. There we go.
Put a fork. It's done. All right. 59, dispersing, I Ching. We read this at the beginning. We read the intro. I'm going to read the changing lines. Line 1 at the bottom is a broken line. It says, in all significant undertakings, it is critical that dissension be handled quickly. Misunderstandings and feuds that are allowed to linger and fester can rapidly develop into open wounds that affect an entire community or project. Conflicts caused by hidden factors need to be brought to light and dissolved as soon as possible to avoid further arguments and wasted energy. Once this is done, good fortune awaits. I love this. And I feel it's kind of funny because Gordy Tushu says, it's whom.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, um, but I thought of Gordy because, you know, I just thought of him. He'll know why I thought of him. All right. Line 2 is an unbroken line. It says, if you sense trouble on the horizon for a group or enterprise, establish firm, reliable channels of communication within the group and with influential people outside of it. Trustworthy information is a powerful asset during a time of rapid dissolution, whether it's the dissolving of an enterprise or a relationship. Once things are clear, regrets will fall away along with obstructions. Line 3 is a broken line. It says, sometimes in the course of a great work, it is important to let go of any thought of self or any desire for personal reward. Look within yourself for what may be causing an obstacle or problem. Losing yourself in the work if the work is vital, is an excellent way to let go of regrets. Line 4 is also a broken line. It says, when a partnership or group's bond is dissolving only by rising above self-centered interests, can much of value be achieved. Take the high ground and greater good fortune will result. Line 5 is an unbroken line. It says, crisis can mean opportunity, but only when like-minded people are organized behind an inspiring ideal. This is especially true in chaotic situations or during disorganized times.
9/11.
When energies and resources have become scattered. Immense energy and generosity are needed at such times to seize the moment and rally others behind a common cause. If you are not in alignment with the greater good of all, you will become a victim of the chaos.
Whoa. Yeah, that's goes along. That's funny because these ideas and
Are
the
can be used for good or
yeah, they could be used
evil,
both ways, right?
right? That
And
that
people,
went really well with what you said.
yeah, that's kind of what made me think of it. And if people can get together and orchestrate 9/11 or whatever, then what can you orchestrate in your own life? Just think about it. Like there is no, it's just a creation machine, right? Like Davin, our good friend Davin from Nevada Astrology, Nevada 17, right?
Yeah.
He talks about the universe being a story creation machine. And if that's the case, or if it's something like it, we could create our own stories. We don't have to go along with the stories that are created by other people
Mm-hmm.
and other narratives in those stories. You can create your own narrative and
Mm-hmm.
make your own story and start your own Over Sharon show. Just
Make
kidding. We'll
your own
do the
group
shit out
and
of you.
kick out the people who, I'm just kidding,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
who don't vibe with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just start your own thing and the people will be attracted to magically, just like what happened here in the Over Sharon show. And bringing it back to that, I would love to give another shout out to the chat because this is what it's all about. We are like a lighthouse in the middle of an island or in the edge or whatever, just standing
And
there tall. We're not running around trying
we're
to
not
save
running
boats.
out to try to save you.
That's right. We're not running around trying to save boats. We're just here so you can see us. And if our light helps you, good for you.
So
So
be
be
it.
it. If it's too bright for you, come back next time. It's fine. Go check out the Brandon Bonanza show. No, it's pretty bright too. But anyway, but yeah, exactly. That's what we are. But we love the people who watch us and support us. So thank us so much. And if you'd like to support us further, go to morelawsmoreproblems.com, click on the Oversharing tab. There's several ways to support us there. But we always say the best way to support us is just be here in the chat, hitting thumbs up, hanging out, leave comments, share this stuff, and be excellent to people and party on.
Yeah. I have one more line to read, line number
Yeah.
6.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. No, great.
Yeah, we'll go out
Great
on it.
little, great little shout out there. All right, line 6 is also an unbroken line. It's the final line in the I Ching of this number 59. It says, this line refers to those who choose to tiptoe around a dangerous situation. Oh my God. To save others who are important to them or to take them a safe distance from damaging influences. But before you move at all, consider the consequences of any action carefully. When treading through a minefield, it furthers one to stay alert and think on one's feet.
Yeah. So don't talk about the moon at Thanksgiving, everybody. You're welcome. Yeah. Oh yeah, Thanksgiving is next week, actually. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. Oh, are we gonna do an episode? We haven't even decided. I'm not really doing anything, so I could.
I will be with family, so I won't be
Okay.
able to.
Oh, I'll figure
It
something
might be
out.
a break for Oversharing, but if you want to do your own show, you
Yeah, I
can.
can always do something. We'll figure it out, even if I have to pre-record something and put it out. Yeah, awesome. I
All
like
right.
to party. You like to party. Exactly, Blue Kachina. He gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you guys already heard the ways to support us, and you heard all the awesome stuff we had to give away on this show today. Awesome lighthouse that we are. Actually, my name Brandon comes from beacon light somehow. So I'm like,
Mm.
beacon light. I remember seeing that. We used to go to this Christian bookstore and they would have, I think they were refrigerator
Was it
magnets.
called Brandon?
It was called Brandon. It was called Let's Go Brandon. And they had these,
Let's
I think
go,
they were,
beacon of light.
yeah, exactly. And they had this different names with different like sayings of where they came from and stuff. I guess mine was like from Irish roots or something. And yeah, beacon light. And I always was like, why isn't it light light of beacon, or what did you just say?
A
Beacon of
beacon
light.
of
Yeah,
light.
yeah, beacon of light. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's
So
the same thing, right?
yeah, I didn't at first I didn't get it though. I was like, wait, light beacon? I was young, you know. But that's totally what we are on this show. Beacons of light, everybody.
That share, a beacon of light that shares its
We're
light.
sharing our light. Yeah, exactly. Two little snails. I'm just kidding. And hermit crabs. No.
Little boats
In the shore, yeah, and the boats too.
and
Everybody gets to
people
see
on
our light.
boats.
And the swans. All right,
Yes.
enough
And the albatross.
in the albatross, exactly. Well, Sharon, speaking of albatrosses, what do we say to the good people?
That once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's right.
And remember, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
Just maybe had a little more simply, dare we
That's
say?
right, everybody. Until next week or maybe 2 weeks, enjoy your turkey.
Happy
Take care.
Thanksgiving,
And don't
everybody.
talk about the
Enjoy.
movie. All right, we're done.